You're listening to Packers Talk Network. PackersTalk.com.
Welcome to the Packers Weekly Podcast, part of PackersTalk.com network. I'm your host, Miles Teddick, joined by your co-host, Tim Hamilton. We are diehard Packers fans that just love talking about the Pack. We are not getting distracted by all that national sports media nonsense. We are sticking to real football, breaking down the top topics around the Pack every week. Games during the season, and now in the offseason, we've got all this draft and dreams and drama. If y'all want to support the podcast, please spike that like button for us. Most importantly, jump on over to YouTube, type in Packers Talk Network. Hit subscribe on that channel for us. We got some other great podcasters there talking Pack with you as well. And we just want to hang out with you guys every week, Monday night, 9:30, streaming live. And you hit that subscribe button, we can see you more often. You can see us, and we can talk Pack together. And if you tell a friend, we can do it even more. So tonight, we got a little bit more drama, maybe some dreams, but this chatter about Micah Parsons missing half the season keeps popping up. So we got to talk about this, and we got to answer some important questions. But first, most importantly, our show is once again sponsored by Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, Ticket King has been providing Packers tickets to Packers fans, as well as Bucks tickets, Brewers tickets, all them tickets, and Brewers tickets. You guys got to get some of those. You got a hot pitcher right now, from what I understand. But you can find them on the web at theticketking.com or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. And, of course, always support those local businesses, Wisconsin and otherwise. Tim, good evening, sir. How we doing, man?
Good evening. Happy belated Father's Day to you. Hope you had a nice Father's Day.
Yes, and you too. And thank you. Happy Father's Day to new father Jordan Love. He's celebrating his first Father's Day.
Yeah, really cool. Good for him.
Did you get to do anything special?
We had a really nice weekend of ice skating, because what says summertime more than ice skating?
Of course.
And some miniature golf. We played a little hockey. Had some ice cream and treats. Just fun time with my daughter. Really nice. It was a very nice Father's Day. How about you?
Right on, man. Yeah, I did a few more stereotypical things. We had a little cookout yesterday. We also caught some catfish in the pond behind our house. Got some catfish back there. So pulled some of those out and fried them up. So yeah, pretty stereotypical Father's Day. Gotta love it. Had some fun. The kids, of course, made it special. They colored me a Happy Father's Day page, and I gotta pin those up on the wall now. All that kind of stuff. So. Love it. Nice. Absolutely love it. And happy Father's Day. Shout out to the rest of the fathers out there. You guys listening. Hope you had a special one, and hope you know that you are special. Being a father is not an easy job, but it is a very important one. So take it seriously, please. Yes. So this evening, man, we got people firing up about Micah Parsons missing half the season again. What do you make of all this, Tim? I mean, look, first of all, first question, before we get to the main question, are we really worried about him missing 8 or 9 games, considering the season is a 17-game season? I think maybe we got some math geniuses out there that are missing on how long the season is. Is he at risk, in your opinion, of missing 8 to 9 games, which would be considered half the season?
I mean, it doesn't seem like it, but it's hard to say. And we don't really know that, because we don't really know what's going on in his rehab or with his knee or anything like that. So time will tell with all that stuff. But based on what LaFleur has said, and Goody and Micah himself, everything's on schedule. He's doing very well in his rehab. He's hitting all the benchmarks he needs to hit. He's right there. But, we talked about after he, spoke a couple weeks ago to the media, he didn't put it out there hey, I'm going to be back week 1 and I'm pushing really hard and I'm going to be he was really honest about it. Hey, and 9 months is a hard deadline, and he's not getting on the field before 9 months. And then, it's going to take time to ramp up from there. So there was no, I'll be back for, week 4 or week 5 or week 6 or any of that. Sure, he wants to be, but there was none of that. So I think that's kind of good in a way because he's not pushing too hard where they're going to have to like, pull him back a little bit, or where he's pushing too hard he might injure himself or, in another area, or there might be, some kind of swelling or something like that in the knee that would set him back further and longer. So I'm glad he's not doing that. But it was also kind of like, okay, he's kind of like pulling things in and like trying to set realistic expectations. Like maybe as fans, we shouldn't be saying like, yeah, we'll be back 4 weeks and then he's back week 5 for the Bears. Like I'm more like along the lines of thinking, sure, if he's back week 5 for the Bears, week 6 for the Cowboys, great. But it could very well be a little bit longer than that. And that's okay because, I mean, he just tore his ACL in December. Like it's a normal timeline. I don't think he's going to miss, I guess, half the season, but I guess it's possible if it doesn't come along as quickly as he wants, or he has some kind of setback, or what if he gets to 4 weeks or 5 weeks into the season and then he comes back and he wants to have a good 3 weeks of practice time? It may add up to where he doesn't come back till week 8 or something like that. But I think at this point, everybody just needs to chill. It's the middle of June or towards the end of June. Like we got a long way to go yet. Like, let's see where he's at in training camp in August, at the end of August, as they go into the season. Like we'll have a better idea then. But at least at this point, I think like you hope he's back week 5, week 6 for, Bears and Cowboys, but know that it might be a little bit longer than that, but that's okay. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with him. It just, they want to get him back and make sure that he's fully healthy and ready to go from that point forward.
Yeah. So I'll be clear. I do agree with that. I like the philosophy. I fully agree with not rushing it back. I just feel like some of this stuff, and especially because it's June and people are just dying for something to talk about. And here we are, we're talking about it. So guilty as charged. But being more responsive than anything, we're certainly not digging this topic up ourselves. To say Micah Parsons will miss half the season, now let's react dramatically, just irks me. It sounds to me like people are dying for attention and some kind of dramatic headline because half the season sounds like such a big thing. When you boil it down, I would be shocked. I would be very surprised, not even in a bad way. I just from an expectation standpoint, if he missed 8 games. Like that to me. So if he misses 8 games, that puts him back against the Patriots, which takes him to November
8th. Yeah.
That would be, in my mind, that's a stretch. That I don't see it happening that way. Now, if we were sitting here talking about, the recovery process hasn't been as planned. He's okay. He's still making it back. It's a little slower. Okay, maybe now we're talking about that. But everything we've heard so far is things are going great. Guy's a freak, and I think they did make some comparisons to Christian Watson and how his return was. I think it's fair to put them both in freakish athlete territory, which definitely contributes to the recovery process. But it just feels dramatic to me, and I'm kind of allergic to that. We're in the season now. I call this short season, right? So everybody's got their shorts videos, and it makes him a Hall of Famer. This guy's going to be a Hall of Famer because he just did something in shorts, and this feels like the equivalent of that. So it just irritates me when I see these things bubbling up. And of course the Bears fans love it. One in particular that we had on last week loves talking about this. And he had a little bit of a viral tweet. Shout out Andy. Where he's saying, over under 6 games, if the Packers, this season without Parsons for half the season, it's just drama, man. Just so dramatic. So dramatic. But we gotta, nip this in the bud, I guess, so to speak, and put the fire out, because I just feel like it's way too dramatic. Now, Parsons' brother on Twitter did have a response that they're not trying to hear that, or they weren't trying to listen, I think, to something like that. And I get it. Like, if there were people that were expecting him back week 1 at this point, that's very unrealistic. And for reasons that Micah already stated, and it makes a lot of sense. I think you and I, at some point, we were hoping that he could have a freakish return like that. But now after hearing from him and hearing a little bit more about the situation, yeah, week 1 doesn't make sense. I think if he were coming back week 1 at this point, I would be nervous about that. I wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
But half the season telling me he's not going to be back until November now, it just irritates me. So I wanted to break this down, maybe very carefully for the slower listeners, and just to talk through the timeline of how it works. So the 9-month rule is what he put out there. So Micah Parsons specifically put out the 9-month rule. We're not going to play until 9 months. Doesn't mean that he's not doing other things in that time. We're not going to play football until 9 months. So you could get to that 9-month point and say, hey, I'm ready to go out on the field. Like, release me onto the field. Don't release me as a player.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's a big checkpoint, right? Like, that's one that you have to look at and see. All right. So that 9-month rule, that puts you at September 29th. What does he look like on September 29th? So September 29th, that is, I believe, smack dab. It's between week 3 and 4. Yeah. So it's after week 3, before week 4. So say he doesn't practice that week. Let's say like that's real close. We're going to say he's not practicing until after week 4. Right. And so that would put him in that, I think it's like the second week of October. Let's take a look here.
It's after. So week 4 game is October 4th. So that would put him that week of October 5th, leading into the Bears game.
And they start practicing on Tuesdays usually. So that would be the 6th.
Or Wednesdays.
So the 7th. So you get him back there. Now, that would be after 4 games. So as far as the PUP list is concerned, he's fully able to start practicing at that point.
Well, the new but he's actually able to practice before then, because I believe there's a new rule for the PUP list guys where they have to miss time, but they can start practicing after 2 weeks. So he can actually be practicing before the 9-month mark. Maybe the 9-month is like, we're not letting you play a game, but like he could be practicing and already have a week or 2 of practice in them, and then be activated, and then, still have the ramp up period, which is allowed as well. So that could also get him back a little, like, game wise within this time frame that you're talking about.
Right. So where we're at right now, as far as PUP is concerned, everybody's acting like, oh, we didn't know he was going to start the season on the PUP list. Now that's the case, now he's going to be. No,
I don't know. Who would say that?
I saw it on Twitter. It's like, well, now that he's going to start the season on the PUP list, and there was somebody that was, we always knew he was going to start the season on the PUP list, so you must be a damn moron if you thought he was going to be back before 8 or 9 weeks. Like, golly, can we get some things straight here, please? Just because you're starting the season on the PUP list doesn't mean you're out for 8 weeks. So all of this just it's I think very dramatic and confused, and a lot of quick-witted. Or I shouldn't even say quick-witted, just sort of quick responses on Twitter that maybe weren't fully thought through. The way that it all works out, to me, looks like he returns in week 6. So one of his brother's earlier comments a few weeks ago, maybe over a month ago, was about how long he will practice once he's back on the field. So that 9-month rule being sort of that first checkpoint, end of September after week 3, if he starts practicing, then they were alluding to he would need 3, maybe 4 weeks of practice, which again, that could put him back 6, maybe week 6, maybe week 7, if things aren't going well. But we're still not talking about week 8, week 9. Like, it's just, to me, again, so dramatic. So for everybody who's unclear about his timetable of return, obviously there's no guarantees. So we're not sitting here trying to guarantee anything. But it's very realistic to think that he can be back for that Cowboys game in week 6. Very realistic, based on his responses, his things that he's said are milestones in his return, and the PUP list. So all things considered, week 6 is very much in play. Very much in play.
And just to be clear, and I just double checked this to make sure I wasn't like just dreaming of something here. week 3, he can begin practicing and still be on the pup list. He still has to miss 4 games, but he can start practicing week 3.
Right.
So realistically, he can get a couple weeks of practice in and he could really be ready to go week 5. Okay. Definitely could be ready week 6. He can't be activated from the pup list until after week 4, but he can start practicing as of week 3. So after 2 games, that 3rd week, he can start practicing. Now, I think, that 3rd week is actually, he probably wouldn't practice that week anyhow, because that's a Thursday night game with the Falcons. So, timing wise, that might not work out because they're not really going to practice that week other than a walkthrough or 2. But he could start that week, and certainly then week 4 leading into the Tampa game, he could be practicing. So, I think the Dallas game, and honestly, like if it goes longer than that, if he's not back to week 7, I don't think it's the end of the world. You want him back healthy and when he's ready to go. He's probably, whenever he comes back, they're probably not going to just say, "Yeah, you're 100%, go out there and play every snap." I would think they're going to ramp him up even in the games on a pitch count. But we saw him on a pitch count for the first month of last season after they traded for him. He missed the whole offseason with the Cowboys. He was on a pitch count. He did pretty damn good on a pitch count with the Packers. So, even if you're getting him back at that, it's fine if he's still on a pitch count. But, they want him to be 100%, and as does he, because this isn't just about 2026 and getting back by week 5 or week 6. It's the whole season. It's hopefully into the playoffs, and it's the future. He is their best player. That's why he's got the contract that he's got. That's why he's one of the best defensive players in football. This is about the long term with it. It's not just about getting back for 1 or 2 games because it's the Bears and it's the Cowboys those 2 weeks. Yeah, it'd be great to have him. And if he's not back, there's going to be plenty of Packers fans that are disappointed, and that sucks and everything. But you got to have a bigger picture view of it. So I still think it's realistic that it could be that Cowboy game, but nobody knows at this point. That's the bottom. The Packers and Parsons know the most, and they probably have. I don't want to even say a target date because I don't think they even.
I'm sure they have goals,
but they have goals, right? They're probably thinking all right, realistically, if everything goes well, hits all of his targets like he's been doing, he could be back around this time, and that's probably where they're at. But we're really not going to know anything until the start of the season, probably. Let's see how he progresses through training camp. Let's at least let that play out. So I think this is a lot of people that just, one, don't understand how it works as far as the rules go, as far as players' recovery goes. And they just want to freak out and be pessimistic because that's how Twitter is. But I don't think this is going to be an injury that drags into the season, deep into the season. I don't think so.
It doesn't look like that. There's always room for setbacks for sure. I know that there were some videos earlier this offseason that looked really promising just as far as how he was working out, how he was moving. But I think your first milestone is training camp. What do you see him doing in training camp? How does he look? How does he feel? What are the reports there? Your next milestone is that week 3, week 4 window, right? That hard 9-month line that he talked about, which again, he had his operation December 29th. So September 29th would be that hard 9-month line. So that's between week 3 and 4. Again, say he doesn't start practicing until after week 4. You get the practice for the week of the Bears. You get the practice for the week of the Cowboys. That would probably be the earliest on that timetable that he could come back. But then you come back, you got the Lions the next week. That's not half the season. We got to do a little bit of math there. That's not half the season. It's a 17-game season. 6 times 2 is not 17. So let's just everybody settle down with this half word. I think that's the thing that everybody's getting all excited about. Half the season. Oh my gosh. But beyond that, the other thing to consider, and when it comes to how much practice he needs, certainly looking at last season, how he didn't have a training camp, and his first game, against the Lions, he was on a pitch count, but he looked pretty damn good. Looked all right. Now I get it. He wasn't coming off of a torn ACL, but he was, quote unquote, rusty. right? As far as everybody else had a month, a little bit more than a month of training camp and preseason games, and he didn't have that. He jumped in there and got going right off the bat. So I once he's practicing, I don't think it's going to take that much to ramp him up. Even if he is on a pitch count in the first game back, say he can come back against the Cowboys, but he's only going to play 50% of the defensive snaps. Great. Put him in those pass rush situations and wish them the best of luck, because it's still going to be a game-changing person to have in the game. So that's kind of how I sit with it. But now let's ask the real question, right? Because this is the question that really matters, and the reason why people are getting all in their feels about this. Can the Packers win without Micah? Now, obviously, last season they did not. They did not really built a defense designed to have Micah in it, and then they didn't have Micah. So I get that. Now, granted, we've had some conversations about how Hafley probably didn't take as much criticism as he should have for some of those collapses. When you're gifted a 3-score lead going into the fourth quarter, you probably should hang on to it. But can this 2026 Packers team win without Micah, in your opinion?
Well, if we're talking 6 games, yeah, I think they can survive it without him. Like, it did not go well last season, but it wasn't just Micah. It was Zach Tom went down, and Devonte Wyatt and Tucker Kraft, and that was a lot. So you're getting all those guys back minus Micah at the start of the season. That's going to help you a ton right there. You're getting, Kraft and Zach Tom are 2 of your best players after, however you want to rank them. They're not Micah, they're not Jordan Love, but they're pretty damn good. They're 2 of your best guys. And then Devonte Wyatt, who's a really key defensive tackle for you. So just getting those guys back makes it completely different to look at than the end of last season. I think they can survive for whether it's the first 5, 6, 7 games that it takes. Over the long haul, if they had to do it all season, can they win without him? No, I don't think they can. I don't think they could be true contenders with him. But in that window of 6 games, 7 games, whatever it may be, I think they can survive. I think they can come out of it with a winning record and be in a decent spot to get him back on the train and hopefully take off from there. What it comes down to is their offense has to do a lot of the carrying for the team. They got to carry the defense. Now, if your defense can contribute and be solid for you, great. But to me, it falls on your offense. Your offense has to be hitting the ground running week 1, because I wouldn't expect to win many low-scoring defensive games without Micah Parsons. You need your offense putting up points and putting your defense in situations where they have a lead to play with, and they can, tee off on a quarterback, or they can, sit back and get an interception because they're playing pass coverage, and just have the offense with the lead and just change the game and be able to take control of the game and play on your terms. So I think it starts there at the offense, and then just defensively you need, and I think I said this last week, but you need Gannon to prop them up a little bit, whether that's design coverages and confusion or how he's going to use his personnel. You need some of that. You need the scheme to help you, and you need the design of it and the coaching of it to help you, because you're going to be without your best player for however many games. So it's going to compromise you. This isn't going to be the defense that you want to give to Gannon right off the bat, because you don't have your best player. But let's see what he can make of it without Micah. And can some guys step up? Can they maybe generate interceptions or generate the big stops on defense that, frankly, we didn't see in the fourth quarter last season? Can they do that and the offense be able to put up the points? Then I think you can survive and be in a good spot when Micah comes back. But if they had to do it long term, then my answer would be no, just because he's that much of a difference maker. He's one of the best players in football. But I think you can survive. I think this team can survive, because I think they have enough players. I think they have enough, if they're healthy, they have enough playmakers and enough ability on offense to be able to carry the team through some of these games and get you some wins early in the season.
Yeah, and I think I generally agree with that. And we got our friend R. Showers here Says if we can start 5-3, there should be no rush to get him back at all. If MLF can quit being the usual MLF, well, that remains to be seen. We'll see. That should absolutely be the plan as week 9 or 10. So again, I've already stated why I disagree with 9 or 10. I can understand if you're doing well, maybe the urgency to bring him back probably eases off a little bit. If you can start those first, call it 6 games, even at 3-3, you're probably feeling fine about where you're at. Certainly context matters about how did you get to that 3-3. But if you're starting off with a losing record, the urgency is definitely going to tick up. And that's where I think those hard deadlines become more important, because it's like, look, we put these deadlines in place for a reason. I don't care if we've lost every game without him. You got to stick to that. But I just don't see week 9 or 10 being the target based on what we're hearing of his recovery at this point. Now, I also know like ACL used to be like a devastating thing that you could take 2 years to recover from.
Yeah.
It just, to me, doesn't seem like Micah's that kind of guy that's going to take that long for it. And again, considering what we've seen already, just doesn't seem like that's where he's at.
No, and I don't either. And for me, like, the record can be whatever it is. Like, as soon as he's cleared to go and he's ready to go, put him on the field. I don't care if they're undefeated. I don't care if, whatever they are, 5-1, or I'm not going to say, you know what, wow, they're doing really good. Let's hold him back more. Like, if he's ready to go, he's ready to go.
Unleash the beast.
Let him to go. And realizing there's going to be a pitch count and all that. And I get like, well, if you're playing really well, maybe you can give him some extra time because, you got some kind of, you don't know how the rest of your season's going to go. Right. And like, again, he's one of the best players in football. Like, you want him on the field. And if they say he's good to go, he feels he's good to go, you put him out there no matter what the record is.
I totally agree with that too. I could understand it though. I could see how that urgency would change with the record, especially with coaches. But yeah, I agree. When he's ready, you send him out there for sure. But yeah, as far as can they win without him, I look at this game or this season, about 4 games at a time, right? So those first 4 games, I think your floor should be 2-2, right? You realistically have a great shot at 3-1, maybe even 4-0. You shouldn't lose to the Jets, so let's not even discuss that. But the Vikings, with what they've got going on, you don't know what you're going to get from Kyler Murray and how he's going to gel with that offense. And granted, you got Justin Jefferson there, and he can make an average quarterback look great. So you can't really sleep on that offense, but I feel like that offense is not going to be very dynamic. So if you can at least choke down the option to Jefferson and force them to do other things, I think it's going to be tough for him to do. And, then looking at the Vikings defense, certainly Flores has done well there, but that now. You've got the film on it. You should be able to prepare for it. And as far as this Packers team goes, you've got the least amount of questions on the offense. Just the line as a whole is a question mark, but all your skill positions are set. Guys are healthy, coming back. Jordan Love's looking good. The O-line, for reasons we've already talked a lot about, should improve. How much, we don't know. But they should improve, specifically from the stability and just the continuity of, you play this position, you play that position, stop with the musical chairs. It seems like that's what we're going to get. You get Jordan Morgan out there at left tackle. You get a little bit of depth with my guy Burton coming in, and hopefully, if he's not a starter, he's a great backup for you, and he's going to provide the competition that makes the starters better. But it does seem like the line is settled down as far as who's going to play where. As long as you got guys healthy, and early in the season, that first game, guys should be healthy. So that, to me, I think you should have a pretty quick 2-0 start. The Falcons could be good, but that's your first home opener at Lambeau. You better not freaking lose that game. Like, I don't care what you've got to do to pull together to beat the Falcons. They're not unbeatable. They're not the toughest opponent you've got on your schedule. You should find a way to win that home opener at Lambeau. And then the Bucs, they again could be good. Are they unbeatable? I don't know. but they'll be tough. It'll be in Tampa. That'll be a tough game. So again, I think 2-2, 3-1, 4-0, definitely all very realistic outcomes there. You should not be heading out of those first 4 games with a losing record. And then you've got the Bears, the Cowboys, the Lions, and the Panthers. Those are tough games. That's a tough stretch right there. No doubt about it. But that's where I look at that and go, that's the window I see Micah coming back. And if you got Micah coming back in that window, you should win at least 2 of those games, at least. So I just, and then we got to see how Gannon's system looks. I'd like to believe, and certainly based on what he said, that he's going to put together a good system with the guys that you've got. We can't sit here and pretend like Micah Parsons is the only good defensive player that they have on the roster. He's just not. He's the best for sure, but he's not the only good one. We were sitting here talking about Edgerrin Cooper as a potential all-pro heading into last season. Yeah. You've got probably the best safety duo in the league. And, when you consider the slot in that, the trio, I don't know. Name me a better trio than McKinney, Williams, and Bullard. I think they're up there. But, yeah, your cornerbacks on the outside are not the best, but you've definitely added to the room, right? So we don't know how Cisse is going to compete, if he's going to crack that top 2 spot. We don't know how St. Juste is going to compete and if he'll crack that top 2 maybe. But you've at least got more competition and more bodies in the room. It's a better situation than it was. And the D-line is better. The D-line is at least healthier, right? You get Wyatt back. You got your rookie in McClellan. The defense should be improved. And they weren't getting routed in games without Micah last year. I mean, remember, these were fourth quarter collapses we were talking about that we were most upset about. Otherwise, the defense was okay. They were holding their own. They just couldn't finish games. So I just look at this and go, if we're pretending like Micah's the only good player they have on defense, I can understand why you might think they can't win without him. But he's not. He's not the only good player you've got. Hopefully LVN comes along and really turns into what he should be. And I know a lot of people don't like hoping for that. It's just sort of like pretending Marshawn Lloyd's going to be healthy. I get it. But at the same time, like, he's on the roster and he's healthy. Like, you can't just expect him to be a bum. So the way I look at it, like, this defense maybe could surprise some people with how they play in the first, call it 8 games of the season. And, certainly without Micah. So I don't know. I'm always a little bit on the optimistic side for sure. I see the silver lining and things. But when I look at this defensive roster, and we broke it down a few weeks ago, I like what they have. There's not a perfect defensive roster in the whole league, right? Everybody's got their holes. I like where the Packers are at. And if Gannon can create a system that takes advantage of what guys are the best at and hides their weaknesses, I think this group is going to be improved from last season, even without Micah.
I hope you're right. And I like your optimism. I think getting Wyatt back is going to be big. And Cooper's the guy, like, we don't talk about him enough. And I think last year, going in the year, we were talking about him a ton. Like, this kid is going to be an all-pro. And then for whatever reason, it just didn't click for him in 2025. I don't think he was bad by any means. He didn't make the splash plays that he made as a rookie, right? And I think he was kind of the victim a little bit of playing with Quay and some things in the scheme. Maybe Gannon can make better use of him. Maybe Gannon can move him around more, make him more of a chess piece, make him more of a weapon for their defense, and attacking weapon. That's what I hope. Like, I still see star potential in Cooper, and this could be the year it hits. And if it does, and he becomes another difference maker, that would be huge for the defense. And they're really good at safety, like you talked about. I like Bullard, and I think Bullard's set up to have a big year. The question marks are at corner and at pass rusher. And those are your 2 most important positions on defense, and that's scary. Now, Parsons comes back and you have your pass rusher, but you need, while he's out, you need pass rush. And then when he comes back, you need another guy. So can they get that from the interior guys with Wyatt and Hargrave? Or do we see Van Ness do something finally? Is it Sorrell stepping up? Is it Dennis Sutton? Like, I don't know. And then the outside corners, I think they've improved the room with Cisse and Jackson, who they drafted, and St. Juste. I don't think there's enough there. Like, to be a legit top 5 defense or a legit like Super Bowl defense. Like I don't see how you can win a Super Bowl if you're starting outside corners of Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine. And maybe they don't end up being the guys, and maybe it's Cisse or maybe it's somebody from the outside or whatever, but that's scary. But can they get through a 6 game stretch or 5 game stretch to begin the season with those guys? Yeah, because honestly, like we've seen them do that before. It helps if you have Micah Parsons rushing the passer and you don't have to cover guys as long, right? And it's scary that week 1 they're getting Justin Jefferson, but we've seen them play well in stretches, right?
Yes.
Like long term, you got to get better at corner than what they are. But can they hold up for that beginning portion of the season that Mike is out? Yeah, I think they can. And again, like there's a lot unknown with what Gannon's going to do with his scheme, how he's going to utilize people. So that will be interesting, and how quickly these guys can grasp that scheme too is another factor. Like sometimes it takes time for players, even a defense like this that's a veteran defense, to learn a new scheme. Now some of them have been in it before or something similar to it before, so that helps, but it can take some time, and let's hope it doesn't take too much time, because they need to pick it up and hold up their end of it while Mike is out. And I get their performance is going to probably be much better and much different once Mike is back than without him. But like, you can't be getting toasted while he's out. Like you got to be able to get stops and make plays. But like I said earlier, like I think a lot of this early portion of the season falls on the offense to put up the points and to hit the ground running and not have the inconsistencies that we saw from them last season. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how Gannon uses his players, like what the scheme actually looks like, how much disguise there is, especially in the secondary with the corners and the safeties and the nickel. We don't know how that's going to play out yet, but I think that could be like one of those factors that can help unlock some of the players in this defense, like an Edgerrin Cooper or Bullard, to have, not that I thought Bullard was good last year, but to like take him up another level, to really raise this defense, because there is a lot of talent there, but there's certain areas where we got to see a much better play, and that's that pass rusher and corner, outside corner.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I do, Edgerrin Cooper is one that I think that they will maybe use, especially when Mike is out, to compensate for the pass rush and get him in there, send him from the middle, get some of those A and B gap rushes, overwhelm the interior offensive line a little bit. Those are the things that you have the athletes to do it, right? It's totally different if you don't have the talent on the roster, you don't have the athletes to do it, or you're not sure what to get from those guys. We've seen Edgerrin Cooper make plays. The guy can make plays. You put him in the right position. And I think part of the Zaire Franklin addition is to hopefully unlock Cooper a little bit more. But he's one that I would watch for, is when Micah's not in there and you're trying to get a pass rush fired up. Yeah, you want to see LVN step up. You definitely, I'm excited to see what Sorrell can do in year 2. I think he will definitely contribute. But Cooper is one that I would expect them to use, especially from interior blitzes, to generate more of a pass rush and get that pressure on and turn that clock up on the quarterback a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we haven't seen much from Gannon's defense. So there's a lot of question marks about what that actually will look like and what he will do with those guys. But they've been working on it. We can't pretend like they haven't been working on it. So so R Showers is another comment here that I want to get to. I give Watson a lot of credit. He looked great coming back. Literally no discernible difference. Gary was bad before his injury and worse after. More time is better if they are still good without him. Yeah, the Gary thing, I mean,
Gary was a good player before he got hurt. Like he was really coming on.
He had some time there where he was really starting to show up and especially generating pressures. The injury, I think, set him back a lot. But I think that, and again, we aren't sure, but I do remember Micah, talking about that 9-month rule, and he made a comment that guys who come back before that 9 months did not do well. And we should check Gary's timetable. He might have been one of those who came back a little too early.
I don't remember.
I don't know what his timetable was. But Watson is one that he came back after, right? He went after that 9-month rule. And to Shower's point, who's not been a fan of Watson, by the way, credit to Showers for speaking some honest words there. Not been a fan of Watson, and said that he looked great when he came back, and it's true, he did. Like there to me, I saw no difference. I almost saw a player who looked better when he came back after the ACL last season. He looked stronger. He took some hits that we thought might take him out. He came back and he was tough, just as fast. Certainly, the speed was still there. The willingness to block was still there. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to learn from that. And these guys internally in the building, they're certainly studying all of it. And, you got the same training staff there that was there with Watson. So I think that there's probably going to be a lot taken from how he returned and how he, came down that final stretch. But yeah, can they win without Micah? I think it really does come down to, if we had to summarize it to two things, the offense definitely has to carry their weight. And when they get out to early leads, they play way better, no doubt about it. So if you can get out to early leads with the offense, give the defense an easier situation to defend, that to me is recipe number one for winning without Micah. And number two is you've got to find a way to get a pass rush somehow, some way, whatever it is. Sending Edger and Cooper in the A and B gap, getting LVN fired up to what he should be as far as his draft pedigree. Getting your year two guys fired up and stepping up and taking a step forward, but the interior D line as well, getting Wyatt back, Hargrave in there, hopefully some of those year two guys on the interior D line, they take a step forward. All of those things, not 100% of them will happen, but the more of those things you have to say, well, if this happens, say half of that happens. Say, Wyatt comes back and then, Hargrave is average, but LVN looks great. Sorrell doesn't do much, right? Like those are the kinds of things that you can realistically expect. It's about 50% of the things that you hope for will happen. Not all of them will, right? Not every year two guy will take a step forward, but some of them will, right? And, not every guy that comes back from injury is going to be the same as he used to be, but some of them will. So those are the things that you look at, and the more of those things happen, the better off they will be. But ultimately, I do feel like they're in good hands with Gannon. Again, the thing that I drew back to is the number of guys that want to play with the guy. You're seeing a night and day difference as far as compared to Joe Barry a couple of years ago. Consider Halfley kind of your middle ground. But, again, never heard a player say, man, I just got to go play for Joe Barry, right? Like that's just it's not out there, not happening. But you hear that with Gannon. And again, the reason you don't hear that with Halfley is obviously he was a lesser known commodity. But yeah, I think it's a huge encouraging sign that you've got veteran players in this league that enthusiastically wanted to come play for this guy. And he's won a Super Bowl, right? Like we can't just pretend like he's been just a decent defensive coordinator. He's won a Super Bowl. He's generated a pass rush. He's done this. So I do have faith that he can get it done. Maybe the offense is more of the question. Can they hold up their end of the deal? Because you do have some tough defensive assignments coming up and, really throughout the entire season. So, and again, like the Vikings, yes, I expect to beat them, but, beating a Flores defense is no small task. Like that's going to be a tough test early on, especially in Minnesota.
Yep.
So, you can't take these things as a given, but there are a lot of different ways that I think that this team wins without Micah. So all of that said, let's have some fun here. Let's speculate a little bit, Tim. Give me one roster move, just one single roster move under the sun that you think takes the Packers over the hump this season.
Well, I'm not going to give you a name just because there's not a whole lot of names realistically out there. Cornerback is the obvious one. Outside cornerback. I still want another pass rusher. So it would be probably one of those two. I mean, if you told me they acquired, a starting offensive lineman that can play either the two guard spots, I would be really happy about that as well because I still think they need help along the offensive line. Yeah, I think that the two places where you could get somebody that could really make a big difference would either be cornerback or pass rusher. And that's even with a healthy Micah Parsons, like you still need another one. And maybe that person's on the roster. But, we've talked now the whole episode about Parsons is going to miss time, however many games it is. He's not in there. Your pass rushers are Van Ness, Sorrell, Dennis Sutton, and then Brenton Cox, maybe Oliver, maybe but it's really Sorrell and Van Ness are your first two, and then a rookie 4th round pick, Dennis Sutton. You need interior pressure, so Wyatt and Hargrave, and they're more established guys, but I'm not real confident in that group without Micah. And then when Micah comes back, can he elevate some of those guys? Yeah, because I think we saw that last year.
Right.
When Van Ness was healthy, Van Ness was playing good football for them. Gary even played good football for the first, 5 or 6 games of the season before he disappeared.
Yeah.
Right. So Parsons can prop those guys up and help them a lot, but without Parsons, it doesn't inspire much confidence. And then once Parsons comes back, I don't want to put everything on Micah, which it just felt like it was last season. Everything was on him to generate pass rush. After the first few games where it was everybody was juiced, I think because of his arrival, and we were getting we had talked about it, man, they can really rush the passer. And then that quickly fell off, and it was Micah's awesome, but can somebody else help him out? I don't want to put it all on him again. So yeah, it would either be a pass rusher or a corner, because I like Cisse a lot. I don't know how ready he's going to be as a rookie. It might take him some time. Maybe he's ready pretty early. Who knows? But I don't want to have to count on that. And I know what I got in Valentine and Nixon, and I think there's some room. Maybe Valentine bounces back a little bit and is improved from 2025. But even improved a little bit, I think he's going to be a guy that you want to replace, right? And Nixon's a guy you want to replace, right? Nixon can play well in stretches, but then he's going to, there's certain quarterbacks and receivers or smart play callers that are going to target him and find him and repeatedly go after him. And he's going to have those games where he cannot get a stop for you. And there's too many of those. So yeah, give me a cornerback or a pass rusher.
Yeah, I think I'm probably there. I'll get a little bit more specific. I think that you got to find a way to get that Josh Sweat deal done. I don't know what it takes. If Arizona, let's see here. I'm going to go diving through some rosters here. But if Arizona, if they need or find any value at all in Keyshawn Nixon, which they've got Murphy Bunting and Johnson, whoever that is, doesn't look very good. That was their rookie. Okay, he's going to year 2.
So the Sweat thing, I think, is just a couple quick things. I don't mean to cut you off, but
sure.
I noticed this during their mini camps because Sweat had stayed away all off season, showed up for mini camp, he didn't practice. And it's weird because he only played 1 year there. This isn't a contract situation. He signed, I think, a 4-year deal before last season. He just doesn't want to be there. Right. So, and I haven't seen anything out of Arizona. What's the deal with Josh Sweat? It's it can't be a contract situation. The guy played 1 year on a 4-year deal. He can't be asking for more money. So why is he staying away? And then why? And then he shows up to what he has to, mandatory, but they don't put him on the field. So okay, it's not a contract, which we see plenty of guys show up and then they don't practice because they want a new contract. It's a hold-in. That's not what this is. So either he doesn't want to be there, which seems to be the case, or you're trying to trade him, which also, according to some people, is the case. According to other people, isn't the case. So believe who you want to believe. But that's just a weird situation because it's not contract related. So you're trying to trade him or he wants out. So I think at some point that situation, what are you going to do if you don't trade him at training camp? Is he just going to show up and not do anything? Or are you going to say, well, you're here, you're under contract, you got to practice? I don't know. It's a weird situation.
And the way the point that the Cardinals are in right now, that's the thing to me. It's like, you guys aren't just a player away from winning a championship here.
Right.
You
He's
know,
not
like,
making that much of a difference.
he's not making a big difference. So if you can get assets for him, I gotta believe that's what you want to do.
I would think so.
And so that's where I look at it like, do they see any value in Nixon? Because he wants a new deal, ship him out. I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But that's a piece, and it's not like you just get a straight up trade, but you package Nixon with maybe another player or picks, whatever it could be. It seems like something could get done there, because Nixon wanting a new deal to me is just laughable. It's like, look, dude, you came in at one job that you were really good at, and you decided to quit that job. And now you're going to take on and do a job that you're not really good at just because you wanted to. Like, that just, I cannot get there. Like, that doesn't work in corporate America. Most people, like, if I was hired to be a marketing person and decide, you know what, I'm done being a marketing person, I'm going to go be in accounting, my company would fire me. They would let me go. Like, they wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, I bet this guy we hired for marketing is going to be our best accountant. I don't think so. I just don't think that's how it works. And if that's your attitude, that's not a team first attitude. And you're not winning championships with guys who are me first. That doesn't work. So, and then he comes off and he's not even very good, but I want more money. Well, buddy, you quit the job that you were actually good at. We tolerated you for this other job because we don't have that many guys doing it. You've got competition here. If they're any good, if they're even close to you, you're done. You're out. I don't want you here. So I got to believe that there is some desire to trade Nixon and not give him a contract, especially if he's going to hold out. What a dumb move that would be, in my opinion. Now, if you're some stud and you just know that there's nobody, like if you're Micah Parsons, you want to hold out, I get it. You're the best in the league at what you do. You're certainly the best on the team. Totally get it. When you're not clearly the best, even in your own room, and you're just going to give up those reps in practice and dare somebody to beat you out, cool, done, get out. So that's where I'm just, maybe I'm a little bit impassioned. I know that he's not a fan favorite, but even from a management perspective, everything that Keyshawn Nixon is just adds up to, you want a new deal? Cool, go get it from somebody else. Like, we don't need you here, man. Yeah. And I got to believe that somebody sees value in him somewhere. He does have quality starting reps. There's things that you can feature, and say, oh, look, he's good at this. But that's where I would say try to package him. I think you can find a deal for Josh Sweat. I don't think you'd have to go as high as what they're asking for, especially now that the Eagles are out. And the way we've seen these things work, there's usually only a few teams that are interested at all. Right. So it's not like the Packers are up against 30 other teams at this point competing for Josh Sweat and trying to, bid for him. So I think when push comes to shove, he will get moved. And it seemed like the asking price they had was a little high, but when that leverage comes down, the price comes down, and I don't think they're far off. So it seems like something you could make happen.
I think he's going to get traded. It's just a matter of when. Like, does it happen at the start of camp? Does it happen during the camp? Does it stretch all the way into the season and he gets traded by the deadline? Which I could see that too. Like, they don't work anything out and he's got to play the first half of the season. And then at that point, the Cardinals are out of it. He still wants to move and they trade him then. But I think if you wait to that point, I think the price goes down, right? Exactly. Like, maybe now you get a third round pick. If you wait till the trade deadline, it might be a fifth round pick or a fourth round pick. I just think the price goes down, but it certainly seems like he's going to be moved at some point because it's a weird situation. And despite what has been out there, I know there's been conflicting reports about whether he's available or not, but like the fact that he's not even on the field for them doesn't seem injury related.
Yeah, I think he's available. I just think that they're trying to play hardball for the right price, And again, I would love to see a package deal with him and Trey Benson, man. I really think that would be a fun one. That would be a good fit. But we'll see. You know, that would be my one move is go get Josh Sweat, bolster your pass rush, you know, prepare for injuries that are, you know, seemingly inevitable. And that's what championship teams do. They can't get enough pass rushers, and it's a very important position. He's a good one. Find a way to make it work without paying too high of a price. That would be the one that I think puts them over the hump without a doubt, even, you know, again, without Mike on the field. We got another question here from Mr. Showers. Says, any comments on the Sorsby rumors? I don't see us using a high pick on a degenerate gambler, but it is out there. Yes, I would agree. So the way was it the supplemental draft? Is that what they call it? Yeah. The way the supplemental draft works is it's basically like an auction, right? Like you put a pick up there that you think he's worth. Maybe somebody puts up a higher pick. It's done through email. So the rumors are that he could be worth, you know, a first round pick. I think that's a stretch, especially for the issues that he's had. But I don't think the Packers are going to, one, I don't know that they're really that interested in the guy, to be honest.
I would think he's off their board with all of this.
Yeah, they value character a lot. I think the gambling stuff takes him off the board. Even if there was some interest there, he's a QB2, right? Like, you're not looking at like, hey, he could be future QB1. Jordan Love's just not that old. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to be around for a while as long as he's healthy.
Yeah.
So I just don't see them getting in a bidding war for a guy with character issues who's going to be a ceiling QB2 under, you know, what you would call ideal circumstances, you know, and as far as QB2 this year, yeah, you got your guy. So is that long term? No, but you've also got a couple guys behind him that that you probably want to be QB2 of the future. You got, again, Tyrod Taylor, QB2, but Kyle McCord, and then they used a draft pick on Kyron Drones.
No, he was free agent. Undrafted.
Was he? I thought they used a 7th round pick on him.
Nah, he was undrafted.
Okay. All right. But still, they brought him in. Yeah. So you've got two guys there. Again, don't sleep on Kyle McCord. I get it. Like, he wasn't a big name coming out of the draft, but, you know, and he had a rough time at Ohio State. Looked great at Syracuse. And I definitely think he could be an excellent QB2 of the future, sort of a reliable backup. But you spent the pick, or I'm sorry, you brought in Drones this offseason. You got two guys there that you want to work on. I mean, unless they're just both unacceptable, I just don't think that there's any energy being invested right now in the backup quarterback spot. Because, again, you got Tyrod Taylor. He's QB2. Like, that's just, as long as he's healthy, he's QB2. So that I think kind of eliminates that conversation with Sorsby. It's certainly a fascinating topic. I just don't see the Packers getting into any kind, even if it was like a 4th or a 5th round pick. I don't see them putting that out there for a guy like that, because they value those picks a lot, and those picks could be used on much more important positions at this point.
Right. Like, you use a pick, or you bid a pick, and you lose that pick in April's draft. So yeah, they're going to have extra picks in April because all the comp picks are getting, but I think somebody's going to bid and put a pick in and get him. I don't know how highly, because the off-field stuff, like some of the gambling on his own team,
it's a big fat no-no. That's pretty clear, man.
Under
for a while.
Well, underage gambling, like, we don't need to get into it now, especially because we're at the end. But like, he was turned in. Like, this came from like the federal law enforcement. Like, so this goes kind of deep here. I think somebody's gonna, throw a pick out there and get him. I don't think it's gonna be the Packers. Like, the guy's got skill and he's got, physical ability. He really could use another year of college to develop, and he might have been a 1st round pick next year. I can't see anybody giving up a 1st round pick on him now. I don't think the Packers would want to touch him with the off the field concerns. There's no way. Even if even a late round pick, I find it hard to believe that they want to touch him with all the issues surrounding him.
Yeah, no, I don't see it. So, the rumors that I'd much prefer entertain are the rumors for that big boy out there in Philly getting traded over to the Packers. I think that would be a lot of fun. I if we want to entertain rumors and Jalen Carter type stuff, I just don't think the Packers have the assets for that. It is a very fun thought to put Jalen Carter on this defensive line. But the assets and the money, even, I get it. The salary cap's fake to some extent, but you got to pay that guy. There's a reason that he's even rumored to be available, is because you got to pay him. And they've already paid a pretty special player that we've spent a lot of this podcast talking about. And they're going to have some others next season that they're going to have to take care of. So as fun as it is to imagine a guy like Jalen Carter plugged into that D-line, it is very, very, very difficult to imagine them coming up with the assets and the salary cap to make that a reality. But I would entertain that rumor a lot more than I would the Sorsby one.
Yeah, I don't think Carter's happening, but it's fun to dream.
No. Yeah, it is a fun dream. So, all right. Well, since we are just inundated with things to talk about at this point in the offseason, we are going to wrap it up here and table those things until next week, Monday night, 9:30. Streaming live with you guys, the Pack Weekly Podcast. If y'all had fun with us tonight, please spike that like button for us. Definitely jump on over to YouTube, type in Packers Talk Network, hit that subscribe button on the channel. We got some other great podcasts going through that channel. So all the Packers talk you can handle. And we will be back next week. Go.